All right, outside the waistband belt setups. I get asked about this stuff all the time. What belt should I pick? What pouches, holster, hanger, all of the above. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the details. So first off, I think that your belt should be a direct reflection of exactly what you're doing with it. So if you're mainly shooting USPSA, your belt would look one way. If you're mainly taking, pistol / rifle classes where, you may be getting down to prone really quickly, you may need to carry some other things on your belt other than just pistol mags. That belt setup is going to look different from the one that you're mainly going to shoot USPSA with. So I think some of the main attributes that I look for in a belt, I've tried a bunch of different belts over the years. I actually have a massive box full of belts that I no longer use because I've found things about them that I really don't like. More belts than I care to admit. So I think the first thing the belt needs to do is it needs to be stiff. And the belt needs to be really stiff because if I'm in a weird position, maybe, leaning around a barricade or something and then need to come out of that position and stick a reload before I come out of that position, I don't want my belt flexing around because I don't want magazines to be in a different spot. Same thing would go for the holster. So if the belt isn't stiff enough and maybe I need to draw the gun in a really weird position, if the belt isn't stiff enough, the gun is going to be in a different spot each time, and it's going to change the way that you not only draw, but it's going to change the way that you index the pistol because it's in a different spot. And so I really like stiff outer belts. To me, that's a complete must. So the one belt that I've come to like quite a bit is the Double Alpha Lynx. The Double Alpha Lynx belt is going to come with a bunch of these little plastic squares. All of these little plastic squares have Velcro on the inside, and you're basically just going to get a bag of these little Lynx attachments, right? And then you're also going to get a bag of these roll pins. So what you'll do, you'll take out all of your Lynx, right? Start sticking roll pins through these Lynx and attaching the Lynx together, and then you basically get it to the size that you want. Another neat thing about the Double Alpha Lynx is it has this ratchet strap system, basically exactly like a ski boot, right? So you just stick that in there, ratchet it, and then to let it loose, you just pull the gray tab and it comes off. So really dig this belt setup quite a bit. These are CR Speed pouches, right? The front one has a magnet on it for unloaded starts, things like that. The hanger is a Henning Group T1000, and then the holster is a Comptac. Do you need this particular hanger? No. Like you really don't. If you want a bunch of adjustments, like to make really fine, like minor adjustments to the way that your gun is canted and the way that your holster is sitting on your side, then yeah, this is really handy. But honestly, it's really expensive for what it is, and it's not a necessity. I think the one downfall of this particular belt is if you go take something like a pistol carbine class where, you need to have a pistol on your side and carbine mags and pistol mags, and you might be doing things like standing with a rifle a couple shots and then maybe dropping the prone really quickly. This is definitely not the belt setup for you. I think a couple like downfalls of using a belt like this in a scenario like that is, number one, your gun is going to fall out of the holster. So one thing that I've done to mitigate this is I've drilled a hole in this holster, cut like a little notch in the front. I've stuck some shot cord through this thing. And so if I am wearing this belt, which I probably am not going to be wearing this belt while I'm shooting rifle too, I've got a different setup for that, which I'll show you guys here in a second. But if I am wearing this belt and I want to, do some rifle stuff and run around, maybe drop down to prone with the pistol still in the holster, this shot cord I could just pull over the back of the grip and the gun is going to stay in there. When I'm not using it, it basically just sits around the holster like this and sits in those notches that I've cut in the holster. So this actually works out pretty good. If you're handy enough to drill inside the holster or drill a hole through your holster, add that on. I would recommend it. It's out of the way and there kind of when you need it. But another reason I wouldn't recommend this type of belt setup for, that type of thing, pistol, rifle classes, maybe you're shooting 3 guns, stuff like that, where you gotta, lay on a rooftop or lay prone underneath a bus. Back when I shot 3 gun a bunch, like we did quite a bit of that stuff. I would not recommend something like this. This belt is not going to hold up to that type of thing, right? This is mainly a USPSA belt. I do not foresee this belt holding up, you know, slamming down on the magazine pouches. I've actually broken these magazine pouches before doing that. So like this type of belt setup is not for you if that's the type of stuff that you are going to be doing. But if you're only shooting USPSA, hey man, this belt setup, it's good. The one that I really come to like a lot is the howitzer belt. They call this the battle belt. The howitzer belt is freaking awesome. You could see how stiff it is. That's a full AR-15 magazine. It's got pouches, like all the stuff on it, and it just stands straight up like that. Like this is a perfect type of stiffness for a belt in my opinion. Like the belt should be very stiff. So the howitzer belt definitely checks that box for me. Moving around to the holster here, on this particular one, I've got a Safariland drop setup. This particular drop is from RDR Gear. The thing that I like about the RDR Gear Safariland fork drop, I'm not quite sure what Jeff calls this thing, but it hooks to Safariland holsters. The thing that I like about this particular drop is it allows you to have a negative cant on your holster. So the vast majority of the hangers for your Safarilands are gonna cant the gun forward, which to me sucks because then I have to lean forward to get a good grip on the gun when I'm drawing it. This one with a negative cant is actually really nice because it puts the grip more or less level with your belt line, which is my preference. This particular holster is from QVO Tactical. I've actually modified this one a little bit. I'll show you guys where I modified it. So how these come is the Kydex comes all the way up here like this and then comes around. And as you can see, like the way that it's cut now, I can just come up and grab the pistol grip. Where it is before, when you get these things with that extra piece of Kydex up here, you kind of have to come around that Kydex to grab your pistol. I'm not a big fan of that, so I just took it to a grinder and ground all that stuff off, made it work for me. Sorry, Roger. Moving down here, we've got one of the fork systems on here from Safariland. I dig this a lot because I can use, you know, an open top holster or a Safariland holster, depending on what I'm doing. It makes it really easy to switch holsters in and out. I've got a magnet on the front of this thing. That's another cool thing about this belt. The size of this particular belt, you can buy these magnets, which are usually made for 1.5-inch belts. These magnets will fit on the howitzer battle belt, so I dig that a lot. I like the magnets on here because I can stick extra magazines on here. Like if I'm teaching a class and I want to go do, you know, a demo that requires a bunch of ammo. All right, moving over here to the pistol pouches and the rifle pouch. These are TXC holsters, overt pouches. These are hands down my favorite Kydex pouches on the market currently for quite a few reasons. Number one, they're gonna mount up to basically any sort of, you know, belt hardware on the market. They're gonna mount up to these tech locks, they're gonna mount up to Safariland clips, basically all of the above. However you wanna mount these, like you can do it. And it's because of how they have these drilled out in the back. So another cool thing about these pouches is the way that they're cut on the back of the pouch allows you to cant them however you want. You can mount them as high as you want or as low as you want on whichever mounting solution you're using. So it's a super modular pouch, and yeah, man, these things are literally the bomb. Like they're hands down my favorite so far. The rifle pouch, same exact thing. You can mount this thing, you can cant it in different directions. You can mount it, I've seen people mount it on the front of their belt where the magazine is kind of, you know, kind of like this, right? Looks pretty cool. I haven't tried that yet, but I tend to like it back here. And I also cant it a little further back, right? Canting it a little further back, what I find is my hand just lands on it a little bit nicer each time, and just lends itself to a little bit faster reload for me. Another thing I like about these pouches is they're flared at the top, right? Even the pistol mag pouches, like they're flared at the top, making it really easy to get the magazines in and out of them, which to me is super nice. The rifle pouch I've got on a Ridgeline Defense. I forgot exactly what they call this thing, but it essentially drops that pouch down. So instead of the pouch being way up here on your belt line, it drops it down and kind of kicks the magazine out a little bit. really nice feature for me personally. I'm not sitting in a cruiser or anything like that. If you are doing that, I probably wouldn't recommend this thing because it's you're gonna have the magazine basically underneath your ass. So if you're sitting in a cruiser or sitting down, you know, throughout the day with these pouches on, I would not get this drop from Ridgeline. But like if you're out, you know, just taking, you know, pistol rifle classes, stuff like that, I would highly recommend. Moving around to the back, I've got just a chalk pouch from Arc'teryx. I don't like humongous dump pouches on the back of my belt, just because they flop around, and I find like the bigger they are and the more shit they accumulate, if I go running around the range, the more this thing swings around and the more I see it disturb my sight. So these Arc'teryx pouches work out pretty good. Do you need a dump pouch? No. I use it quite a bit because I'll throw like pens, extra staples, you know, stuff for like teaching. This thing works out pretty freaking good. That is my howitzer battle belt setup. Again, really dig this particular belt. This is the belt that I'm probably gonna use the most of, just because I do a lot of pistol and rifle stuff. And to be honest, this particular belt setup too, like you could 100% go and shoot USPSA with this, and this belt would serve you very, very well. The only thing I would need to remove is this leg strap. All right, so that's my take on outside the waistband belt setups. Hopefully I covered pretty much everything there. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comment box below. See you guys on the range soon.